the course on medical biomaterials. Hello everyone, I am going to talk about a new subject that is called biomaterials. I will be giving 40 lectures, each lecture about 30 minutes of duration. Biomaterials is of recent origin, I would say, when compared to other areas of biotechnology. It is encompassing several areas like medical biotechnology, as well as materials and instrumentation, analytical tools. So, it is a highly interdisciplinary subject and it is going to be very exciting, and I believe that the next decade is going to be a lot of research activities in the area of biomaterials and a lot of industries that will be sprouting out related to biomaterials. So, what is this biomaterial? Any substance, it could be a synthetic substance or it could be a natural substance or combination of these two, synthetic and natural, used for some time as complete or as a part in the human system. Okay. The idea could be for treating some problem in the human system, or it is enhancing the function of something. It could be a diagnostic, or it could be replacing any of the tissue, organ or function. That is called a biomaterial. Say for example, I am keeping a stainless steel implant inside the body. Okay. So, it is trying to replace the broken bone, or it is trying to help the bone to heal faster, then that is called a biomaterial. I am keeping a biosensor inside the body to monitor your glucose level as a function of time. Okay. So, then that could be a biomaterial. Okay. I could be keeping a calcium sulphate or hydroxyapatite to fill up some parts in the bone, then that is a biomaterial. Okay. Sometimes they keep a pacemaker inside the body so that it controls the heartbeat, that is called a biomaterial. Sometimes they keep devices so that the blood is pumped properly, because sometimes the heart does not work to the full extent. So, it sort of augments the current heart, then that is called a biomaterial. So, anything, it could be a natural material or it could be a synthetic polymer or metal or ceramic kept inside the body, okay, for a short period of time. It could be for few hours, like your catheter, urinary catheter, or it could be forever if there is a hip replacement that may last for many years, or it could be a stent inside the cardiovascular system, and that is expected to last forever. So, it could be very short duration, it could be a medium duration, it could be a very long duration, that is called a biomaterial. Okay. So, biomaterial encompasses several aspects of material, and it encompasses the entire body system. So, it can be as simple as a urinary catheter, it could be slightly complicated as your glucose sensor inside the body, or it could be a permanent fixture like your cardiovascular stent or stainless steel implant to replace a bone, and so on actually. So, all these are biomaterials, and nowadays with a lot of cosmetic surgery that is coming into picture, rehabilitation after an accident, or problems associated with the congenital, again biomaterials are used. Biomaterials are used for replacing different parts of the facial, so that sort of it helps in the cosmetic. The implants in the oral cavity, they are again called biomaterials. So, biomaterials encompasses a large number of material and various parts of the body which are being replaced or augmented. Sometimes these biomaterials are removed after a short period of time or medium period of time, or sometimes the biomaterials are kept inside the body and it is expected to degrade on its own, or sometimes they are removed with a second surgery. For example, they implant some drug eluting biomaterial. Once the drug has been eluted, the biomaterial may be removed with a small surgery. So, all these are called biomaterials. But please remember, drug is not considered as a biomaterial, okay, whereas all other things are considered as biomaterials, like the examples I mentioned about. Okay. So, another definition for biomaterial: a biological or a synthetic substance which is introduced inside the body as part of an implanted medical device or used to replace an organ. Okay, nowadays people are talking about artificial heart, artificial kidney, diaphragm valves, cardiovascular stents. So, all these are artificial devices which are kept to replace either a damaged body part or a diseased body part, or body part which has been damaged because of some accident and so on. So, all these have to do the bodily function. Okay. So, that means it has to do the bodily function. So, if a joint is replaced with a metal joint, the metal joint has to do the function of the original human joint, okay, and it has to last forever until the person is alive. So, biomaterials encompasses several areas of research. It could be medicine, it could be biology, it's chemistry, tissue engineering, material science, physics. So many different areas of science and engineering disciplines are encompassed as or is a part of this area of biomaterial. So, anybody can work in the area of biomaterials. That means it is not possible for one person to become a real expert and introduce a product into the market. You need the help of several different disciplines to bring out a product from the bench right up to the bed of the patient. So, it is highly interdisciplinary, and that is why I said biomaterials research is going to be the most important research field in the next coming decades, and there are going to be a lot of companies who will be marketing, who will be researching or bringing out products in the area of biomaterials, and I believe that India also will be in the forefront in the area of biomaterial research. Okay, so there are many issues one need to consider when you are having a biomaterial, because the material is kept inside the body, whether it is for a short period of time or a very long period of time. So, the material has to be biocompatible. What does this biocompatible means? So, when a foreign material is placed inside the body, it should perform its duty within that host for that particular application, okay, and it should be compatible. It should not be causing any toxicity or any harm to the host. Okay. So, if I keep a cardiovascular stent, it should not cause inflammation, it should not cause any other adverse reaction which may lead into a rejection of the material. So, biocompatibility is very, very important when you design material that has to be placed inside the body. Even you must have heard that if urinary catheters are placed inside the body for passing of urine, after a few days the patient feels pain, sometimes infection develops and so on, because there is a non-compatibility between that material and the host. The next one is host response. Okay. What is the response of the host to the implanted material? That needs to be thought of. Sometimes the host response can change. The way I respond to a biomaterial placed inside the body as against you responding to the same biomaterial placed inside the body could be very different. For example, if you take hip joints, these hip joints are made up of nickel, chromium type of material, and there is always possibility of leaching out or wearing out of this material and entering the host. So, some patients may have adverse reaction to these metals of very low concentration. We are talking in terms of ppm, but still some patients may have adverse reaction to these materials that is getting leached out, whereas some patients may not have any adverse reaction. So, the host response can change from person to person for the same material. The response could be local, That means wherever it is placed inside the body, it could be local or it could be entire system. For example, if you take a polylactic acid is a polymer. It is made up of lactic acid, and it is a well approved biomaterial. It is approved by the FDA, that is Food and Drug Administration Authority of USA, and it finds many application inside the human body as a biomaterial. When this polylactic acid degrades, a little bit of lactic acid is produced, which is slightly acidic. So, there could be a very local acidity which may harm the cells which nearby. But if you take the entire human system, the acidity will not change, but in the very local environment there could be acidity which may have a certain adverse reaction on the cells or the tissues near where the material is placed. Okay. So, responses can be local, responses can be systemic. Okay. Sometimes you place a cardiovascular stent, there could be inflammation in the region where it is placed, whereas rest of the body will not have any adverse reaction at all. So, there is always difference between local and systemic. Okay. So, I want to show a couple of pictures of biomaterials. For example, this is a fracture plate. These pictures are got courtesy from CMC Vellore in Tamil Nadu. So, as you can see, there is a stainless steel rod placed here as a fracture augmenting material after a fracture, bone fracture. Okay. Now, they place a polymethyl methacrylate impregnated with the antibiotic. The antibiotic slowly gets released. So, it prevents infection and biofilm formation on this stainless steel material. In fact, this is the drug loaded polymethyl methacrylate beads. So, they are placed inside. So after a fracture, they keep these stainless steel rod, and they also keep a drug loaded polymethyl methacrylate beads. So, the drug gets slowly released as a function of time, and it prevents the infection, that means bacterial infection. It will also prevent the attachment of bacteria or the biofilm formation. So, the stainless steel rod here is a biomaterial, and the polymethyl methacrylate beads also is a biomaterial. So, we need to consider all the aspects like biocompatibility, host response, local response, system response, all these when we are designing these biomaterial. Okay. We will talk about all these much more in detail later. Now, I want to show you another biomaterial. Okay. This is a polyurethane urethral stent. Okay. This is a urethral stent made up of polyurethane. Polyurethane is almost like rubber, so it is very flexible. This is an X-ray of that. So, this urethral stent is placed, okay, between the ureter okay, and the bladder. Okay. So, it allows the urine to flow nicely down to the bladder. Sometimes there could be stones which may be blocking the ureter, or sometimes there could be infection which may be preventing the urine to flow. So, they place this urethral stent, as you can see here, so that the urine flows nicely, comes down to the bladder. So, this is a biomaterial. This is made up of polyurethane, so it is very flexible, and generally after a stone surgery, generally nowadays stones are not removed through operation. They may use some ultrasound to break the stones. So, the stones, broken stones will come out through the urine. So, it may take a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. So, they would like to have this urethral stent placed inside the ureter for about 4 to 6 weeks. So, this urethral stent has to perform its duty. That means it should be biocompatible, it should not cause any infection to the patient, it should not break. So, after 4 to 6 weeks the urethral stent is removed, whereas in the previous case we are talking about a stainless steel implant which is done after the fracture of the bone. So, the stainless steel implant is going to be there inside the body forever, as long as the patient lives or alive. So, you see two different situations where the stainless steel implant stays inside forever, whereas the ureteral stent has to stay only for 4 to 6 weeks. And look at the environments are very different. Here the polyurethane is facing the urine environment, that means we have several salts like calcium oxalate, okay, and we also are going to face bacteria like E. coli, protease, mirabilis. So, this is a very harsh environment, whereas if you go to this environment, there are generally no bacterial infection, there are no salts, we are talking only exposure to blood, plasma, proteins and so on actually. So, this environment is very different, whereas this environment is very different. So, the biomaterial I showed you in the previous case is a stainless steel implant, has to stay for several years, but the environment is mild, it should be accepted by the host system without causing any problems to the human. In this second case, we are talking about a polyurethane biomaterial which has to remain inside for 4 to 6 weeks only, but the environment is very harsh. It should not cause any salt precipitation which is found in the urine, it should not allow any bacterial infection to get enhanced, especially bacteria like E. coli and protease mirabilis. Okay. So, there is no single answer in while designing a biomaterial. We need to understand in which location it is going to be placed, how long it is going to be placed, okay, whether it is days, weeks, years, months, what is its function it has to carry out, okay, because for example, in these areas the two examples I showed you, the biomaterials are inert, that means it does not have to carry out any function, but whereas if you are talking about diaphragm valves, they have to move up and down, so it is carrying out some function, or if you are talking about joints, the joints have to rotate and move in a 3-dimensional fashion, so it has to carry out some function. So, when you design a biomaterial, we have to consider the time duration, the location, what is the function it is augmenting, okay, and the type of materials we are going to use and so on actually. So, we need to consider quite a lot when you are designing biomaterial. So, there is no single design for biomaterial. So, when you consider all these aspects, your design changes. That is why there is a lot of scope for doing research, and that is why we need expertise from polymer chemists or material scientists or medical practitioners or physical chemists and so on actually. Okay. Okay. So, as I said, biomaterials are being nowadays used in large numbers, trying to replace all parts of the body. Dental implants, these have been very old, going back to even thousands of years, when many thousands of years back human had their teeth replaced with artificial material. So, dental implants, tooth filling, okay, different types of fillings like mercury, like polymethyl methacrylate, acrylic acid and so on. Vascular implants, okay, implants near the heart region, vascular grafts, you have diaphragm valves, you are replacing different parts of the heart, okay. So, those are vascular implants. Drug delivery systems, okay, we have different types of drug delivery systems made up of biodegradable material. The drug could be antibiotics, the drug could be growth enhancers and so on. Bone fixing material, okay. So, if a bone is broken into two parts, we are trying to fix it using bone nails or pines or wires. So, all these are biomaterials. Sutures, sutures after an operation, external sutures are there. Nylon was used originally, which is not biodegradable, but nowadays they use a lot of biodegradable sutures. Internal sutures, So, they have again a biodegradable or bioresorbable polymeric material. Bone defect filling, defects in the bone which has come due to birth defects or happened due to accidents. They use different types of fillings, okay. Materials like polymethyl methacrylate, acrylic acids, okay, calcium sulphate, hydroxyapatites, hip joint prosthesis, bone plate. So, we have joints where the joints gets replaced by using metals, okay, different types of metals, single metal, even combinations of 2-3 metals with combinations of polymers, okay. Bone plate, especially after a orthopedic or a bone graft, okay. Then scaffolds for tissue engineering. This is one area which is growing quite a lot in the past 5 to 10 years. You are trying to grow different cells on surfaces, so they are called scaffolds, and these scaffolds are generally made up of polymeric material. So, these tissues, once they are grown, can replace defective tissues or tissues which are infected inside the human body. Even your contact lens is a biomaterial, because it is remaining inside the eyes for a long period of time. So, it is in contact with the host system, it should not be causing any adverse reaction, it should not cause inflammation and so on. So, contact lenses is a biomaterial. Catheters, okay, different types of catheters, urinary catheter, cardiovascular catheter. So, different types of catheters, they stay inside the patient performing certain functions for a short period of time, that means it could be hours, or for a slightly longer period of time, that means it could be weeks. Okay. So, all these are biomaterials and much more actually. Okay. And as you can see, each biomaterial has to perform certain function, each biomaterial has a different location, each biomaterial stays inside the body maybe spanning hours going right up to years. Okay. So, if you look at the biomaterial market, it is a huge business. They estimate that by year 2020 it could be $130 billion US. Okay. So, this market is divided into based on type of material. It could be metallic material, okay, like metallic means we are talking about titanium, stainless steel, chromium, nickel. It could be ceramic material, okay, hydroxyapatite, calcium sulphate, oxides. It could be polymeric material, that means polymethyl methacrylate, polyethyl ketone, polylactic acid, glycolic acid. It could be natural biomaterials, okay, like glucon, cyclodextrins, hyaluronic acid. So, all these are chitosan, all these are called natural biomaterials. Okay. So, it is broken down in terms of type of material, or it is broken down in types of application. Applications for cardiovascular, it could be a cardiovascular stent, it could be a cardiovascular graft, it could be a patch, it could be a diaphragm. Orthopedic, it could be orthopedic plates, screws, joints, it could be dental. Okay. Dental means orthodontic application, teeth, jaw replacement. It could be a plastic surgery. Plastic surgery is one area which is growing quite a lot. It could be plastic surgery related to facial parts, that means ear, nose, eyes, skins. Okay. Wound healing, especially after a burn injury or could be chemical injury. What type of biomaterials you use? Wound patches which will cure the wound without causing adverse reaction or without creating infection. Neurological, okay, anything that is related to the neuron, brain and so on. Tissue engineering is one area, as I said, is growing quite a lot nowadays. Can I grow tissues outside in the lab and then implant it inside the body. So, can I grow heart muscle tissues, then patch up my heart? Can I grow bone tissues and then replace bone defects? Okay. Can I grow neuronal tissues and then replace some defects in the neuronal region? Can I grow tissues related to orthopedic or ophthalmologic and so on actually. Okay. So, that is tissue engineering. Then comes ophthalmology, like your contact lenses, ocular lenses, all these come under ophthalmology. So, the biomaterial market is broken down in terms of application, and they are broken down in terms of material. So, in the application you may have different types of material. For example, if you look at the orthopedic, you can have stainless steel implants, titanium screws, or polylactic acid resorbable screws, or you can have a drug delivery system with PLGA. So, you can have combinations of materials also in each of these applications. So, both are possible. So, testing of biomaterials is also very important, just like in drug discovery. Once a drug has been discovered, they go through a lot of testing. It goes through animal testing, human testing stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So, biomaterials also has to undergo a lot of testing processes. So, you may have a physical and mechanical testing. So, if it is a diaphragm valve, it has to open, close. So, it has to have certain tensile strength, flexural strength. Then biological testing, is it biocompatible, is it causing any toxicity, any genotoxicity. Then in vitro assessment, that means using laboratory instruments or using laboratory cell lines. In vivo assessment, that means using animals, maybe rabbits, maybe guinea pigs, even larger animals like dogs or sheep, that is in vivo. Then functional assessment. So, if you are talking about a artificial valve, it has to open and close every few seconds, 100,000 times. So, can I do that and see whether it really works? Then comes clinical assessment. Okay. So, here the clinician comes into picture and they have a look at it. Maybe they can test it out on volunteer patients and then see whether it performs its duty. So, lot of assessments, lot of testing has to be done on biomaterials before they are really introduced into the market. It is almost like testing of drugs. You need to go through a rigorous testing, physical, mechanical, biological, in vitro, in vivo, then clinical testing before it is actually introduced to the market. So, the time duration could be several years, just like drug testing. Okay. So, you have to keep that in mind. So, one cannot directly bring a product from the lab right into the patient bed. It has to undergo a lot of testing before it is approved. Okay. So, there are a large number of steps involved in the product development of biomaterial, okay, exactly like drug discovery. So, you may, as soon as you try to decide on a base material, it could be a polymer, it could be a ceramic, it could be a metal, or it could be a combination of that. Okay. So, we mix them and prepare the material. Then the material needs to be modified into this on the surface, so that it becomes biocompatible. Okay, that is called the surface modification. Okay. Once that is done, it goes into in vitro testing. In vitro testing may, like I said, involve cell line work. It may involve looking at physicochemical testing. We may look at the mechanical properties like tensile strength, specific gravity, hardness, okay, viscosity, depending upon the type of material. Then it goes into in vivo testing. When we talk about in vivo, it could be animals, different types of animals, okay, small animals, large animals. Then we need to make the product into the desired shape. For example, if you are talking about a hip joint, then it should have a ball like shape and a socket like. The socket may be made up of some material, the ball may be made up of material. So, the product shape formation is there, and then again you need to test it out in the animals to see whether it performs well in the animals. And in some cases we may have to include electronics also. For example, if you are talking about devices which help the performance of the heart. For example, there is something called ventricular assist device, which will help in pumping of the blood, because patients whose heart cannot pump blood of enough quantity or rate, these devices are incorporated or embedded inside the body. So, those devices require power. So, you need to have an electronics embedded into that. If you are going to have a biosensor implanted inside the body, it needs to send out signals to the external device. So, there has to be some electronics in that. And then once the entire material is prepared, comprising of both the material as well as the electronics, it may have to be tested on human volunteers, okay, and then finally the material goes into marketing and product launching. Okay. So, a lot of steps are involved when one is talking about bringing a biomaterial right from the lab into the bed. Okay. Lot of testing, physical, mechanical, chemical, biological testings are carried out. That is why it is extremely interdisciplinary area, where we talk about experts from different areas, biological sciences, mechanical sciences, chemical sciences. Then when you bring it to in vivo testing, we need the help of clinicians. Okay. So, again different discipline is coming into picture. When the biomaterial involves some electronics, then we need help from the electronics engineers, and then finally it goes into clinical trials and finally into marketing. So, the whole area of biomaterial is extremely interdisciplinary, and we need to have support from various disciplines if you want to launch a product successfully. Okay. So, we will continue in the next class. Thank you very much.